to item number 9, which is consideration of approving and ratifying the deed confer agreement between the City of San Angelo and the San Angelo Coalition of Police, SACOP, which establishes certain terms and conditions of employment for covered police officers to be effective October 1, 2014 through September 30, 2017, and authorizing the city manager to execute said agreement. Did you pull this down? Elizabeth, if you would like to start, or you want Lisa to start?
I know nothing about what's been going on in the process, and would not necessarily consider this a consent agenda item, my own opinion, but I'd be more than happy to hear your presentation. I would appreciate it.
Okay. As you know, or may not know, we began the process of negotiation for this current contract upcoming in June of last year. And because the city has gone with meet and confer under the police association, we the process is that we need to negotiate certain expectations and employment provisions. And so the SACOP side of the table brought forward their desires early on, and we went over those for a number of months, and then it's the city's turn at that point to present their side of it. The key points that we really stuck on the most, with the most discussion, was of course salaries. We were trying to implement a physical fitness program, and then we wanted to improve the hiring process so that we could get through that system without spending as much money as we do on applicants that wash out later in the system. So we had both sides of the table negotiated, or I'm sorry, surveyed salaries with our 13 sister cities or our comparable cities. And we came to an agreement, and the process is now that we will take them in the first year of the contract this October to 88.5% of the survey cities average. And then in the following October of 2015, we'll take them to 91.75%. And then in October 2016, it would be to 95% of the survey. Now, what we also did was, since we only know the numbers for this year, we can't predict what they'll be 2 years from now. We implemented a cap on the growth potential for those ranges so that we could minimize the impact that it might be to the budget. If salaries were to just soar and we had no cap on it, it would be difficult for us to perhaps get to 91.75%. So we put a growth in of 2.5%, a growth factor cap of 2.5%. And so each year we will survey HR, and I imagine the SACOP side will survey as well, and then we'll compare numbers. And what we will do is take 102.5% of whatever that survey is and take them to 91.75, and then survey again the following year and take them to 95. So that's the process on the salaries. As far as the physical fitness program, we came to an agreement to implement a program that in the first year of the contract will sort of grow in its infancy. They have access to a fitness program that's currently used by the DPS, and so what we've agreed to is to let our department establish their standards in a way that works for our department. And so the first year we'll be establishing baselines and getting standards built, and then they'll start having a fitness standard from that point forward. There's no incentive attached to that. It is simply a tool to try to get our employees in a better shape. And then the third item that was another big item was the hiring process. Right now, when we give the civil service exam, from that point forward, they're in the system and they go through the physical fitness program and they go through background checks and so forth. We've found that there's a number of folks that get screened out during the background check for some simple things that if we'd have known up front, we would not have had the expense of going through all of the background checks. So we agreed to take the advice of the department and have some just standardized questions that are included with the application, and we screen out those people that don't meet the minimum standards at that point before we give them the civil service exam. So those were the 3 key points.
Thank you.
One of the questions that I had was, I noticed in there you mentioned the city marshals and the airport police. Why is there no mention of the fire marshals?
I beg your pardon?
Why is there no mention of the fire marshals? They're certified peace officers.
They're included as well. If you mean they weren't listed in the memo, because I don't think I listed any of them in the memo.
Well, in the, under the background information where you list all of the involved peace officers, they're not listed in the first paragraph.
Are you talking about in the agreement itself?
Mm-hmm.
It's because when we went back in 2007, the fire marshals signed off as not being part of Meet and Confer. And so they have never been part of Meet and Confer. And the city marshals out of municipal court and the airport police and those other groups did, but the fire marshals did not. They've been out of Meet and Confer since the beginning.
I understood that the city marshals and the airport police were also in that same group.
No, they're in the group that accepted Meet and Confer.
Okay.
And so we've kept them the same as we go through the whole. Every time we change the scales that they change for them as well.
Further questions or comments, Charlotte?
Well, to me, I find this a little bit the cart before the horse. I'm not opposed to an increase in their salaries. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying until I, as a council member, see the final budget that is going to be presented with line item adjustments across the board for raises that are being given to other city employees and stuff, I don't feel right about ratifying their agreement is to what I've read in the paper and all the press releases that they're getting a 5% salary increase. I don't know that for a fact, have not seen those final budget items, so I feel it's a little premature to ratify any amounts of monies in this, so I would prefer to wait until we do that portion.
I certainly understand your position on wanting to make that decision later. I can tell you that this is the identical dollar figure that's been presented throughout the budget process, the Meet and Confer line item that's been up there. And I know you haven't voted that in, but
not seeing yet all the final budget items, as a comparison, this is a 3-year ratification. It's kind of hard, that crystal ball, when I don't know even if we're going to have funds. Mr. Morris's rainy day fund, I don't know the dollar amount that is there, so I'd rather see this come with the final budget part.
Further comments? Rodney?
Well, I'm kind of the opposite on that. We're going to have to figure it out. To me, they need to get the money, and then if we have problems with something else in the budget, then we have to fix those problems, but we need to move forward on this. I move that we accept this proposal as presented.
Second.
Marty, do you have anything to say on this?
No.
Mayor, I do want to mention that
Yes,
as far as the dollar amount associated with these proposed increases, it is included in the fiscal 2014-2015 budget that's been presented to City Council. So that is a number that's been accounted for.
And if I remember correctly, when we authorized Meet and Confer, the last line said that if the City Council says we can't afford this, then we don't do it.
absolutely.
So if, regardless of what Meet and Confer, what y'all met and what y'all talked about, if we get to a point where we can't afford it, it only takes 4 people to put it back where we started. So I don't have a problem with go ahead and adopting the budget and getting this thing started. And if we, obviously, if we couldn't afford it, we wouldn't have approved it in staff. And if we get to where we can't afford it, then we'll go back to where we can afford it.
And if you recall, in the last contract, we did get faced with that in 2010, and we went to the membership and asked them to postpone a year. So we do have a mechanism by law that protects us.
And I think our officers understand that.
Well, and to some degree, I think we use this as then the level that we want to keep all other employees at as well. So I've seen them, in a sense, being the lead in keeping salaries up for all of the employees in the city. So that's why I don't have any trouble with this right now. It's what I'm going to look to, though, for everyone else, somehow, some way.
Do I have public comment on this item? Officers, y'all happy with this? As happy as you can be?
Thank you for your time. I will tell you this.
And
very
you are
arduous.
Corby Kennedy,
I am
aren't you?
Corby Kennedy. I'm the president of the San Angelo Coalition of Police. It is an arduous process. It obviously took from June until we went to our ratification vote last Wednesday. We passed that vote 126-4. So I think by the vote itself, I think they're pleased with it. Of course, we'd always like to have more. You know, when we started this process, we wanted to lessen the burden on this department. You know, we were losing people to other departments. Unfortunately, police work is very mobile these days. Officers can be very portable within the state, and we want to keep who we train, and we want to keep them here. So I think with this process and with this contract, I think that we've done that. I think we've done very well. City staff worked on it hard. We worked on it hard. I think it's amenable to both sides. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Corby. And when we have the cities of Lubbock and Abilene advertising and buying billfolds in the city of San Angelo trying to get police officers, it tells you the extent of our training and the importance of our police department. We've got to protect them. I do have a motion, I do have a second that we accept this as it is written. If I have no further comment, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Go 7-0 on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 6-0.